The Canadian dollar, CAD, is the official currency of Canada and is widely used in trade and financial transactions within the country. The Canadian dollar is represented by the dollar symbol C dollars, Canadian dollar. The currency of Canada operates in units of 100 cents. History. The origins of the Canadian dollar trace back to the period of British colonization in Canada. Initially, a currency was used in Canada starting in 1841, alongside the British pound and the US dollar. However, the first issuance of Canadian dollars occurred in 1858. From then on, the Canadian dollar gained significant importance in the country's trade and was officially recognised as the national currency after Canada gained independence. Uses of the Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar is the legal tender throughout all regions of Canada, used in trade, finance, banking, and daily life. Outside of Canada, especially in countries with strong economic ties to Canada, the Canadian dollar is widely accepted. Particularly in areas near the US border, the Canadian dollar has become an integral part of trade. Determining the value of the dollar. The value of the Canadian dollar is determined by supply and demand dynamics in global currency markets. Additionally, factors such as Canada's economic indicators, oil prices, and interest rates can affect the value of the Canadian dollar. Canada's economy, which is heavily reliant on oil exports, is particularly influenced by fluctuations in global energy prices. This can cause the value of the Canadian dollar to fluctuate. Economic role of the Canadian dollar. The Canadian economy is a significant global economic player, and the Canadian dollar plays a crucial role in international trade. The Canadian dollar is one of the major currencies traded on global foreign exchange markets. Moreover, it is used in various international trade agreements and investments as a payment currency. Canada's strong banking sector and low inflation rates help position the Canadian dollar as a safe haven asset internationally. Canadian dollar and global markets. The Canadian dollar is often referred to as the petrol dollar because Canada is one of the world's largest oil exporters. The Canadian dollar is highly sensitive to fluctuations in oil prices, which can lead to increases or decreases in its value based on global supply and demand for oil. Globally, the Canadian dollar's biggest trading partner is the United States. As a result, the value of the Canadian dollar is often influenced by its relationship with the US dollar, USD. The CAD-USD currency pair is a significant trading pair in foreign exchange markets. Canadian dollar and banknotes. Canadian dollar banknotes are typically made from polymer, which makes them more durable. The banknotes in circulation in Canada are available in denominations of 5, 10, 20, 50 and 100 Canadian dollars. Coins of 1 and 2 Canadian dollars, as well as 0.25, 0.10 and 0.05 cent coins, are also commonly used. Banknotes often feature historical figures, cultural symbols, and scenic views of Canada. The country employs security features such as holograms, watermarks, and other advanced security elements to protect its banknotes. Use of the Canadian dollar in other countries. Some countries accept the Canadian dollar as a legal tender alongside their own national currency. For example, in certain regions of the Caribbean, especially St. Pierre and Miquelon Islands, the Canadian dollar is used as the official currency. Additionally, the Canadian dollar is accepted in some regions along the US-Canada border, particularly in towns and cities close to the Canadian border. Canadian dollar and interest rates. The Bank of Canada, the country's central bank, sets interest rates to control the value of the Canadian dollar and maintain economic stability. Interest rates are influenced by policies designed to combat inflation and stimulate economic growth. The Bank of Canada can influence the economy by adjusting interest rates. Higher interest rates typically strengthen the Canadian dollar as investors seek better returns. The Canadian dollar as an investment tool. Investors can use the Canadian dollar as a trading tool in foreign exchange markets. The Canadian dollar is viewed as a safe haven due to the country's economic stability, strong banking system, and low inflation. Additionally, Canada's wealth in natural resources and strong energy sector can contribute to the appreciation of the Canadian dollar. Conclusion. The Canadian dollar is one of the major currencies traded globally and plays an important financial role. Canada's strong economy, Low inflation rates and energy sector make the Canadian dollar an influential currency in global markets. Despite economic fluctuations, the Canadian dollar is typically regarded as a safe haven asset and is favoured by investors.